I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. This dangerous, deranged, and desperate and frankly weird routine by Donald Trump continues every day. His malignant, narcissistic, sociopathic pathology for all to see, dripping, disgusting mess on his social media platform over and over again with these disgusting posts. But I don't just want to show you Donald Trump's posts and him spiraling out of control. I think it's important to expose it. But as you told me, you said, Ben, don't just show the Trump post. That's great. Expose it, call it out, but then compare him to what President Joe Biden is saying and doing. Because as President Biden said, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And there are clear choices to be made. And let's show you those choices. This is what Donald Trump is saying on his social media platform, attacking prosecutors, attacking President Biden, attacking judges, attacking witnesses. Donald Trump goes, "The bogus indictments are done by one man, my political opponent, crooked Joe Biden, who is telling everyone to indict Trump, take him off the campaign trail and let him spend his money on legal fees rather than ads, saying that Biden is the worst and most corrupt president in the history of the United States. That is their campaign strategy, illegal as hell, but we will win." President Biden is not saying any of that at all. In fact, when President Biden was even asked a question, just like take a look at what Trump is saying, right? And so President Biden is asked, hey, there's a special counsel that's been appointed to investigate your son, Hunter Biden. What's your response? What do you think President Biden said? Deranged president? No, he said, I'm not commenting on that. I have no say over that. That's for the Department of Justice. That's what a responsible person does. Here, play this clip of President Biden.
And if you'll indulge me, Mr. President, on a domestic matter, what is your reaction to the special counsel appointment last week into your son? Thank you.
Well, first of all, look, there's not much, if anything, I agree on with my predecessor on foreign policy. His America First policy, walking away from the rest of the world, has made us weaker, not stronger. America's strong with our allies and our alliances, and that's why we will endure. And it's a strength that, quite frankly, that increases all or three of our strengths. This is just about one summit. What makes today's different is it actually launching a series of initiatives that are actually institutional changes in how we deal with one another. And security cooperation, economic cooperation, technology cooperation, development cooperation, consultation exercises. And all of this will create its own momentum, I believe, year by year, month by month, to make the relationship stronger and more certain to remain, to be in place. And with regard on these results, I think are going to keep it going, and I think are going to benefit all our countries. And with regard to a second question, I have no comment on any investigation that's going on. That's up to the Justice Department, and that's all I have to say.
Back to Donald Trump, he posts, "Why should I have to defend myself from bogus indictments and numerous other lawsuits, all of which have been brought and coordinated by the person I'm running against and leading in the polls, crooked Joe Biden? This is an unprecedented situation that cannot be addressed individually, but only as a whole. These 7 cases are all about election interference, a very unfair situation that should be addressed by the United States Supreme Court, or other presidents will do the same thing." Will do what? You committed multiple crimes. And so when you're talking about the 7 cases, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the civil cases too? Are you talking about where a jury has found, a jury of your peers has found that you sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll? Is that the one where that you defamed her and they awarded E. Jean Carroll $5 million? You're talking about the Manhattan District Attorney case where you gave hush money payments to an adult film actress, and then you put on your books and records that it was legal fees when it wasn't? What are we talking about here? Where you try to overthrow our democracy? The case in Washington, D.C., brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith, what the willful retention of national defense information, where you stole classified and top secret records and we're just showing it to people. Like, there are audio recordings of you going around with classified documents saying to people, doesn't this make me look cool? Aren't I right? Aren't I so much better than General Milley? Like, how disgusting and criminal that is. Did Biden make you do that? Did Hunter's laptop make you do that? Or how about your threats to Georgia election officials saying to find votes? And how about you having agents of yours break into election offices like in Coffee County to steal election data, or threats being made to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss? I mean, what's the other case? The class action in January that not many people are talking about? The one that involves your multi-level marketing scheme where you're set to go to trial in January. Which one are we talking about? New York Attorney General Letitia James fraud lawsuit for your overinflating valuations of your properties. How about the fact that you paid more money in taxes to China, that you actually had secret Chinese bank accounts? Like, there's evidence of it, not just you saying deranged, made up things. Like, there's evidence of it. But what I guess MAGA Republicans don't like evidence and they just want to call names. And by the way, too afraid to debate as well. Here's Donald Trump's post. Many people are asking whether or not I will be doing debates. All Americans have been clamoring for a president of extremely high intelligence, as everyone is aware my poll numbers are wonderful, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you're too chicken to debate. I get it. Like, his messages get boring after a while. Just whiny. By the way, here is Republican presidential nominee Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, calling Donald Trump out for not showing up to the debates that start next week. Play this clip.
Well, Joe, look, if what he was saying were true, which is he's got this great record as president, and that he's so far ahead, why wouldn't you come onto the stage and take a victory lap and just lap everybody else on the stage? And you're right. He does, this is a guy who plays macho man at rallies. Only people our age, Joe, understand even what that song is, let alone what he thinks it means to him. Right. So, all I could say is this. If he believes he should be the nominee, if he believes that he's got such a great record, if he believes he's the best person to go against Joe Biden, then show up on Wednesday night and stop being such a coward.
And then, of course, there's the grift. Donald Trump posting with his little tiny hands. Contribute, not guilty is what he is posting. All right, let's compare that to what is President Biden saying. President Biden writes, Bidenomics is about growing the economy by strengthening the middle class and making things in America again. It's a stark contrast to MAGA Republicans who are only focused on corporate profits. President Biden writes, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, we're taking life-saving steps to reduce healthcare costs and lock in place lower healthcare premiums for millions of American families, saving them an average of $800 a year. Since I've been in office, I've signed more executive actions to reduce gun violence than any of my predecessors. Earlier this year, I signed an executive order to ramp up our efforts to hold the gun industry accountable, keep firearms out of dangerous hands, and more. What's Donald Trump doing? Oh, he's reposting something that says Georgia's fascist Fani Willis targets Super Tuesday. Donald Trump is posting, thank you to this Jonathan Gilliam for understanding the radical left Democrat fascists and their use of coordinated indictments in an attempt to hurt my presidential campaign. It's going to backfire, all in caps. These Marxist monsters must not be allowed to destroy our elections or our country. And by the way, I think I saw Chris Christie say this recently, but we've been saying it here too on the MeidasTouch network for a very long period of time. Remove, I know it's hard to do this, but remove for the fact that this is a criminal, treasonous, traitor, malignant, narcissistic, sociopathic, misogynistic maniac. But put that to a side for a second. I know it's hard. Someone who talks like this is not normal behavior for human beings. If you had a family member, friend, coworker, colleague, someone who acted like this, and you were like, this person needs an involuntary psychiatric 5150 hold, I'd get it. But this is the leader of the modern day Republican Party. This is who the Republicans want to give nuclear codes to again. Are you kidding me? And going back to President Biden's posting, there's no better place than Camp David to hold historic trilateral discussions with Japan and the Republic of Korea. Today represents the culmination of 2 years of work and a stronger future for our cooperation, for our security, for our diplomacy, for our economies. And President Biden writes, by 2030, our clean energy investments and Inflation Reduction Act are projected to help us triple wind power and increase solar power by 8-fold. And just so you see, too, we wrote a story about this on MeidasTouch.com. By the way, Bill Kristol, who used to be a Republican, calls the GOP, calls his former party, the GOP, gross old perverts. And we kind of blurred it out here on YouTube. But it talks about how Virginia GOP officials display a 16-foot sign at a youth baseball game to protest woke. And you could probably make out what that is. It is horrific. But go to MeidasTouch.com to kind of see what that is. And then we explained on MeidasTouch.com how that's what the GOP in Virginia is doing. And then you've got Governor Josh Shapiro, a Democrat from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, signing into law something that will fund universal free breakfast for Pennsylvania students. So the contrast could not be any more clear. Folks, there you have it. You got to focus on the contrast. Put in the comments how you feel. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Go to MeidasTouch.com to read those stories and more, and subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast as well. Have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.